Here we go. Welcome, everybody. It's January 2022. How did that happen? I could not be happier to see January 22. I think I'm probably not alone in that statement. 2020 and 21 were probably not our favorites. Despite amazing professional success, we sold a lot of homes, that's for sure. But on the personal side of life, being able to travel and do things and see people, it's not been the most fun. So fingers crossed for a change in direction along those lines for this year, while we maintain an amazing professional side and we're super busy and we're still selling lots of homes and all of those good things. So I'm happy to be here today. I'm Meredith Oliver of Meredith Communications. I'm the founder and chief digital marketing strategist. Meredith Communications does digital marketing for home builders. You can learn more about us at meredithcommunications.com. Been around 20 years. What? I know. The Zoom Beautify My Appearance helps with that factoid. But the truth is, we've been doing it a long time. We love what we do, and we couldn't imagine doing anything else. And that's definitely true when it comes to bringing you Builder Town Hall every month. Maintaining the Facebook group, putting on the program, it is a labor of love, and we are ecstatic to do it. We have a lot of fun in the pre-show, in the after the show, in the show, it's a fun thing, and we are happy to do it for you. So for this year, we're going to be checking out this Friday at noon Eastern time slot, changing the date and time up. So that means that our next meeting, so if you go ahead and put it down, will be February 4th. If you are a regular attendee of Town Hall and you haven't been a featured guest, or you have an idea for a topic, send me a private message through our Facebook group or send me an email, meredith@creatingwow.com. I'd love to hear from you. Of course, programming is always a challenge because we want to bring you the best and the latest. And if you'd be interested in being a guest, let me know. Raise your hand and tell me what you'd like to talk about. And if there's a way to make that work, we certainly would take a look at it. I want to give you a digital marketing update. One of the things that we do at Meredith Communications that I think sets us apart and is something I'm really proud of is we've developed a series of dashboards where we're aggregating our clients' digital marketing data together to create a national trend and benchmark view, so that when we work with you individually, we can give you an idea of where you are with some statistical relevance to it. It's not a perfect analysis by any means, but our goal is to be able to give you a sense if your website traffic is down, so is everybody else's, by what percentage. So it kind of gives you that feel of where you fit in and how you measure up. As we have been crunching the numbers, looking at December website traffic over November website traffic, the increase was phenomenal. Now, of course, we had a major holiday in November, Thanksgiving. So we had about 4 days where people were off the grid, vacationing and being with family. So that always tends to factor in. But then if you think about December, well, another major holiday month, but yet on average, December was 8 to 10% over November's website traffic. I was doing meetings up until the 23rd of December with our clients, reviewing their monthly numbers, planning for next year. And they're telling me, we just wrote 5 contracts. I mean, normally, I guess pre-COVID, about November 15th through about December 27th, it could be quite quiet. And instead, this year, except for the holiday weekend of Thanksgiving, and then really all the way up until Christmas Eve, they were online and writing contracts. And then when I looked at one report yesterday out of the Atlanta market, week over week, so this last 7 days over the week of Christmas, another 30% increase. Year over year, most of you are trending 20 to 40% increases. And we were cranking by last December 2020. The whole thing was already starting to accidentally roll too fast downhill on us, where we sold out of everything by March. So December 2020 was no shrinking violet in terms of activity. And a lot of the reports I'm looking at are up another 20 to 40% over that. Now, of course, I'm talking raw website visits here. Of course, there could be some spam in there, some bots in there, but I like to just look at that top of the funnel, big picture number, because it's all going to be a series of percentages from there. Now, through about December the 26th, 7th, your lead requests might have been a little quiet while people were traveling or busy. But once the 27th hit, and that's where I was looking at week over week, it exploded. And our poor OSCs are probably not even able to be on today. If you're an OSC and you're here, tell us, are you alive? Because they are getting so many phone calls and live chats as soon as the holiday was over, before even January 1st hit, the lead volume right through the ceiling. So what does all of this mean? It means I'm very excited and bullish on 22 for us for sales. So I think a lot of the themes we talked about last year in terms of pacing of your construction, pacing in terms of when you release inventory, when you price it, a lot of the education and proactive communication. I mean, we hammered that meeting after meeting after meeting last year. And I think all of those skills and topics are going to be still incredibly relevant and valuable to you. So if you need a refresher, go to our Facebook group. You can pull up any of our different town hall recordings there. They're also on my YouTube channel. And you might want to do a refresher on some of those topics, because I think they're really still going to come into play. Okay, so I want everybody to open up your chat window. Oh my goodness, Raina, you had 300 inbound calls last week. Oh, whoa. So I'm looking at Raina Estrada with MI Homes here out of the Raleigh market. Yeah, that's insane. Is your ear falling off? And because of all this activity, that's why this topic today came together so beautifully, both the guest and the topic and all of it. So given that you're as busy as you are and your phone is ringing off the hook and you've got 40 homes under contract that you're managing, if you're the salesperson that manages that, or you've got however many design appointments, you've got all of this going on, not to mention you have a personal life. Maybe you have a partner or a spouse or some kids or dogs or whatever it is you have in your life that you're responsible for. Ooh, right? So let's take a deep breath, open up your chat box, and I want you to respond like this. When you hear or think about the words time management, what is your first gut response in a word or a phrase? All right. What is your first gut response? I'm going to look over on my other monitor. So I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you. Michelle, come on out, come in and turn your stuff on while we're doing this. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We've got Pat. Hi, Pat. Nice to see you. We've got calendar. Ooh, that's a good word. I like that one. Organization, priorities, control. Okay, somebody was brave enough to say needs improvement. I like the honesty. John, right? Not enough time to manage. That's a great one. That's a really good one. Balance, productivity, Okay. I like all of those. Michelle, when you think of the words time management, what comes to your mind? What's your instant response to it?
Yes, I love that question. I'm so glad you're putting this in the chat because I'm loving these responses. The first thing that comes to my mind is that time is a human construct. That's it. There's no way you can control or manage a human construct. What you can control is your mind around it. So what we really need to control and manage is our mind around the concept of time. And that's what I love. I get excited about it.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not from the, excuse me, the Raleigh market, let me introduce Michelle Sims Reiter to you. She is very well known here in this market, incredibly respected leader and thought leader, author. You've got a new course on time management. We'll talk a little bit more about that online course, but how we know you before you founded your coaching studio, Strive Coaching Studio, you founded with, I guess, two people, you and one more,
yes.
a home building organization here in Raleigh. And it grew to how many? 54?
54 employees. Yeah.
54 employees and 80 something million dollars in revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We started the company in the recession.
In the recession, she started this home building company and then did what I believe is the American dream, which is sold the company to the largest publicly traded home builder in the country, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, when we started a company in the recession, we had no idea that's what was going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, two people. And over that time, managing time and wearing a lot of hats and watching it all come to me and have to manage all of it and develop people through that time and help them manage their time to develop themselves was kind of a main priority. It was the only way to survive back then.
Yes. Because home building organizations run very lean. Absolutely. And that's probably the understatement of 2022 so far.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt.
So everybody's expected, a lot is expected. And when I work occasionally in other industries, I'm like, oh, you have a person for that? You have a person for that? You have a person for that? Oh, like one of us does 5 of those things in home building. So we do ask a lot of our people. So this particular topic, I think, is important.
It's the perfect time because everybody loves to have New Year's resolutions. You've had time off, so you're starting to get back to who you really are and what's most important to you and create new goals for yourself. And the first problem that comes up is time. Well, how do I fit it in? Right?
Yeah. So was it because of the growing of your home building company, or was there something else that made this topic so important to you and made how you began to be so passionate about it?
I've always loved the concept of planning my future. And that is kind of the premise behind the course that I'm doing right now, because I really take planning very serious. You're really deliberately choosing how to spend your minutes to create your future.
Yes.
And if you're not deliberately and consciously making those choices yourself, then the world is making those choices for you. And you're going to look back a year later and not have accomplished what you really wanted to accomplish. And even more than that, what I hear from people is that they look at their day, they get frustrated, they get stressed and overwhelmed with all of it. The only reason we get stressed is because all of the time that we spent doing things was not aligned with anything that was important to us. We just handled what was coming at us. It's easy to fall in the trap.
Yeah, for sure. And so if I hear what you're saying, it sounds like to me, your time is being managed either way, either by yourself, but just because maybe you aren't deliberately managing it in a strategic, thoughtful way, don't fool yourself into thinking your time isn't being managed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I talk about it all the time, that is kind of the only equalizer that we have amongst ourselves as the people on the planet. Every single person has the same amount of time, exact number of minutes in the day. You can't bribe somebody to get theirs. You can't steal it from anybody. You can't buy it. We all get the same opportunity, and then we get to decide how we're going to spend it. And that just, when I think about it that way and realize that we all have that same opportunity, it just changes everything in terms of how you approach your day. And it doesn't mean, listen, I'm not going to say we don't need to be laying on the couch watching Netflix, because I personally love to do that. Don't get me wrong. But when you get to really plan, you get to create freedom and space in your life so that when you are laying on the couch, you're not feeling guilty because you're not doing the project you thought you were going to do, or procrastinating, feeling bad about yourself. Like, you can just be on the couch and love that show that you're watching and really enjoy it and rest.
I would imagine when you're coaching leaders on this topic, you probably get some pushback, objections, like we talk about in new home sales of, well, I like to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
I don't want to be over planned.
Yes.
How do you respond to that?
I have a client who said to me on day one, you could put a billboard outside of town for everybody to read when they come in, and it would say, I don't like time management.
Okay.
I'm not going to do the structure.
I like the self-awareness, at least.
Yeah. Good to know. Good to know.
Okay.
We can work with that.
You signed up for this because, no, I'm kidding.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, those are, to me, those are dream killers. They are really just taking you away from creating the life that you really want. Because my question to you would be, do you have it right now? Do you have all that freedom right now? Do you get to do all of the things you really want to do? Are you creating the life you want? Are you getting the results? When you look back, did you do what you said you were going to do and have all that relaxation and freedom and spontaneity? My guess is you don't, because when your time is off, you know you didn't produce what you really wanted to do, and you don't have a plan for how you're going to. So you're not relaxed. You're not enjoying yourself.
So I've noticed that you've used the word deliberate several times.
Yeah.
And so give us some tips on being more deliberate, how we get there, what it looks like, with some specifics of what is it to be deliberate with your time management?
No, that's a great question. I mean, I think the first point is that, we have a superpower in our brains that no other species has on the planet, and that is to be able to plan and use our wisest mind to look ahead and put together what we know is in our best interests. I mean, the last I knew, at least, there are no animals in the forest having business planning meetings and looking at 5 years from now, because they're not capable, but we have that power to do that. So when we do that and put a plan into place for ourselves, then it's just a matter of operating from there, knowing that when that thing comes up and it's time to do it, we're doing what we planned for our best self, in the best idea that if we do this, on the other side of it is not only do we produce and get to our goal, but now we can relax and enjoy ourselves and be super present in the moment. And I think that's kind of the biggest problem, is we never get to really just enjoy what we're doing right now, whether that's a project with our team, or selling, or creating the plan for the future and having that focus time to use sort of your best, superpower, your zone of genius. I mean, what you're good at doing, because you're distracted with all the other things that you're supposed to be doing and what you didn't get done. So I think it's really just a matter of being so conscious about what comes up today is can be evaluated against my priorities, but I've already made a plan for today of what I know is aligned with what I want to do, what's right for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you find that it's hard to, when you're an employee of someone's and you're trying to be deliberate and you're trying to have a plan, but they seem to kind of have a plan for your day.
Yeah.
And trying to marry the two plans or not, or not get totally derailed, but then you don't want to look at your boss and go, no, I'm not doing that. Like my 13-year-old does sometimes. And I'm like, well, yeah, you are, because I just turned your internet off with my one touch app on my phone. So say that again louder. And he doesn't. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It works.
Yeah, it does work. But, but as an employee, you really can't just look at your boss and go, no, I'm not doing that because I already have my time mapped out. So how do we kind of navigate what gets thrown at us, customers coming at us?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you're in sales and you have customers, that I'm guessing that your sales manager would tell you that that's your number one priority. So hopefully everything else that you're doing does get dropped because selling and being in front of your clients is number one. But to your point, with regard to employers, my belief is that it's very rare that you can't really anticipate what's likely going to happen. If you have a boss who at the end of a meeting always asks you to stay an extra 30 minutes and gives you another project, maybe just go ahead and plan on that. Like block out the extra 30 minutes, block out the time you're going to need to do the project. If we're not being realistic about the fact that we actually do need to go to the bathroom during the day, eat, and drive somewhere, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Like you're setting up a lie going into the whole deal. And if you don't believe it, you're not going to stick to it because it's already unachievable for you.
And that's where, I will tell on myself and say, it's the transitions that I underplan for.
Yeah.
It's the transition time of, oh yeah, I was supposed to plan some time to eat. I didn't plan enough drive time. I don't know if I think I'm just going to teleport to all these places or what,
right.
But the transitions, I think most sales, definitely marketing professionals, we're pretty organized people by nature. It is what we do. We A-type, go get them, pretty self-motivated.
Yes.
So maybe where we're falling down is more in the realistic anticipation of the transitions.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the funny example I gave earlier about the client with the billboard outside of town, this person who's very high up executive level running an amazing organization is also the person who had to hide in a closet, hadn't eaten all day, and hadn't been to the bathroom all day for our first session. So something's not working there, right?
No.
Like, go on with your spontaneity, but it doesn't seem to be working out to get you.
Yeah.
And it really is just being so much more mindful about how you're spending your time, how you're planning, how you're choosing what to do. Because listen, if we let our brain that wants to watch Netflix all day win every time, which it will try really hard to do.
Yes.
Then we're going to be on the couch watching Netflix, probably doing some online shopping, maybe doing who knows what else, eating far too much, like
texting friends.
Yeah, why not? Like we could just have fun all the time. And the other thing I talk about is you don't really have to do anything. There's nothing you have to do. You have free will. You probably don't even have to feed your kids if you don't want to. Like you don't have to. But when you sort of like think about that conversation that you're having with yourself in the moment, there's nothing you have to do. So when you no longer have to look at it that way, what will you choose to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do that actually gets you where you want to go next and what you're trying to accomplish,
And then once you've done some of that reflection and planning, then there's this accountability piece, right? Of how did you actually then spend the time?
I say it in my course that when the thing comes up, your mind, your brain, your body, every part of you is going to be like, I hate that. I don't like that task. That's not what I want to do right now. Wouldn't it be more fun to do this? I'm not inspired to do that. Like, no, that's your brain just being super clever, trying to say, no, 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 no. We don't want you to do that right now. We'd rather you be on that, watching Netflix and eating Doritos.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love Doritos too, but that's not going to get me where I want to go. So it's just a matter of saying, listen, here's my rule. Once you make the decisions at the beginning of the week of how you're going to spend your time, you stick to it. You stick to that plan and you make no other decisions other than in your planning time, because that's when you're using your best self to make that planning session for yourself. And then when the time comes, you just do it.
I'm not laughing at you. I am laughing at my 9-pound dog snoring so loud in my office that you guys can probably hear it in my Blue Yeti mic. And I'm like, could you have planned this nap at a different time, please?
So cute.
He's so cute. He's over there in the corner snoring his head off. I guess he's tired of hearing me talk. I don't know, because he can't hear you. You're in my ears.
That's so funny.
So I apologize, town hall, if you're hearing dog snoring noises in the background.
Listen, he blocked out nap time for right now, and he is doing it, starting on time, finishing on time.
I think that is our dog's superpower, is getting their sleep in, and yet they're so tired all the time.
They really are.
Yeah. So when we fail to be accountable to ourselves, like at the beginning of the week, kind of planned out how we want to spend our time. Let's say we wanted to spend some time going through our paper files and getting rid of a bunch of stuff we don't need anymore, or tidying up our office, or making some follow-up phone calls. And then we don't do that. What effect does that have on us?
Well, kind of the first thing to point out is that there's no reason to beat ourselves up over it, because that's just normal. Like, our brains are going to try to tell us not to do those things because it doesn't want to, and it's totally fine. First of all, if you institute 20% of what I teach in the course and kind of following the path, you're already going to gain time. You're already being more productive. But if you can commit to the 90 days and then learn at the end of each week, okay, what worked, what didn't? And then in that moment, when I didn't want to do that, what was I thinking about? And am I glad that I made that decision, or would I make a different decision next time? And then when I plan for next week, I might plan the same way. I might plan differently, but I learned from it. But if we start beating ourselves up for it, then suddenly we might throw the whole calendar out of the window altogether and just like, oh, I'm a failure. Why bother? It's kind of like if you say, I'm going to go 30 days without eating gluten and sugar. If you end up going 23 days not eating gluten and sugar, you did pretty darn great.
You did great.
But if you focus on the 7 days throughout the month that you didn't, then you're going to feel like a failure. And why even keep going after that? Like, throw in the towel.
I mean, I think the approach you're bringing forward is very empowering, instead of feeling like somebody's kind of putting the screws to you and saying, here's the boxes within which I need you to live your schedule to live, or else. What you're saying is, you don't have to do anything. You don't really. So again, that's a very coming from that position or that mindset is very empowering. And then you say, okay, so you make your plan. If it doesn't quite turn out like you meant or hope that it would, but you got 70% of it done, you can feel good about that.
Celebrate.
Not like start spiraling
right
into a negative place. Right.
And then eat Doritos and watch Netflix for the rest of the week.
Yep.
Do some online shopping too while you're at it.
And we've been talking a little bit about, like, I think all of us have different ways of, just taking a brain break.
Yeah.
And whether that's a Netflix show or just kind of mindlessly scrolling through a Facebook feed or playing a game on your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, there's maybe room for a little bit of that, because your brain does need these pauses in the day. But I guess what happens is we don't realize really how long those are adding up.
Yeah, totally. I think what happens is recognizing the difference between I'm planning for downtime of things I love to do. I had a client who said she loves doing the, I don't know, there's some kind of gambling app or something on her phone. She loves to do it. Well, do it. Carve out the time to do it if you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So are you doing it because you love it? Or are you doing it to distract yourself or to procrastinate or because you're dreading? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do. Yeah, because you're avoiding dealing with feelings or thoughts that need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Right. Out of avoidance, or there's a lot of different ways you could go about it. But yeah, I think a healthy schedule has some downtime, brain break, whatever we call it, built in, especially once COVID hit and we all ended up in front of screens.
Yeah.
So many hours of the day. We're not out as much as we were, depending on what your role is.
Yep.
And you got to build in the breaks.
You do. And, even just especially if you're in your leadership position in your office, if you are still in your office, those who are, like, just don't discount the time that you might want to spend stopping by somebody's office to say hi and chit chat with them and how valuable that is. Or you go get your cup of coffee in the kitchen, chatting with who else is there. Like, that's reality. And that's the value. And kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Meredith, like, why are we doing all of this anyway? Hopefully it's because we want to enjoy ourselves, build relationships with people, have fun, build a life that we're excited about and want to experience. And when we're experiencing it, not feel guilty that we're not doing something else, or not be distracted because we're allowing that time to be taken over by other things. Like, just enjoy the experience and have fun. I mean, that's why we're here, I think. Right?
I think. And I think it's okay that we go through seasons of life where it is off balance, or you work more, you don't work as much as you'd like. But then things kind of, as long as they right themselves back, I don't know if there's a thing as perfect balance, because seasons of life really call upon us to handle things differently.
Yes, absolutely. My recommendation and how I operate is to always have an idea of what my top 3 priorities are at all times.
Okay.
And when I need a check against how to spend my time, I always check that. And that's because those things can change. And one of my best examples is my son is a senior and he's going through the college process right now. And back in the fall, it was a matter of visiting colleges. And I wanted to take him for all of those college visits. So that means there's a lot of other things that I need to not do. But if I know that that's in the top 3, then it doesn't mean I'm not working, doesn't mean I'm not going to the gym, it doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself still, but it falls in the top 3 for that season of life, for that period of time. And at some point that falls off the list and something else is the priority. But that's how you check yourself. And I look every week, okay, what are the priorities this week? And am I going to plan my life around that? Or am I going to allow my life to take me in all those directions?
In the different directions.
Yeah.
What is the role of holding yourself accountable if you've identified those priorities and you know what they are, and then you're making a schedule, and like we said, you have to adjust things get thrown at you on a daily basis that you have to respond to, but to some degree, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're eroding our trust with ourselves when we don't live up to the commitments we've made to ourselves. I mean, it's just like I was saying, that if you have an appointment with a lunch date, you're not just going to not show up. You're not just going to choose to be like, yeah, I'm not going to see Meredith today. You're going to come to your best friend's meeting, a client meeting, all of those things. So why do we not live up to the same condition with what we say we're going to do for ourselves and our time? That is our most valuable resource. You can't get more of it. So why aren't we living up to our own commitment and having our own back and taking care of ourselves just as much as we would other people?
And once we erode trust in ourselves,
yeah,
I think other people sense that.
Yeah.
And they might be fearful of, can they trust us? Can they, it's a intangible. I don't think you could point to it on someone, right. We're not all wearing a scarlet letter that says I miss all my appointments or anything like that.
I am no good at this. Yeah.
Right. But, well, there probably is a t-shirt for that, but we don't voluntarily wear it. But yet there is something intangible that potential customers, bosses, colleagues, they pick up on.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the meetings you've been in. When you go to a meeting that starts on time, has a clear agenda, and ends on time consistently over and over and over again, the trust that you have in that meeting, that person who's conducting the meeting, completely changes versus the ones that are much more free-spirited. We don't know when it's actually going to begin or end. We don't know what we're talking about. And those are fairly common. And I've been in them myself plenty. We all have.
Yeah.
And so sometimes just seeing the other side of it, what you have an opportunity to build is so valuable, where you can go. And when you live into that every day with what you accomplish and what you do, down to a 30-minute, like every meeting doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 30 minutes. It may be as 15 minutes. Sometimes they can be 5 minutes. Like they will be as long as you say they're going to be. I love Elon Musk says it all the time. He's like, you can give yourself 3 months to clean something, or 3 days, or 3 hours. It will take that amount of time no matter what.
Right. We're going to welcome on our rock star panelists extraordinaire, Carrie Mulcrone and Angela McKay, to join in the conversation. What questions do you have for Michelle?
First you stole my stuff once again, Meredith, when you said she using deliberate a lot, because it's such a great word, right?
Right.
One thing that I thought about at this time of year when everyone's trying to find their one word for the year, that was a good word, everybody, deliberate. But I thought that I'd ask you to talk a little bit about, as you talked about, relax, if you've done what you've planned to do, that allows you to relax. What came to mind for me was like, just breathe, feel good, feel confident, competent, not like relax and sit on a couch, relax like you just feel better. So I explain relaxed because I think it goes a couple ways.
So good. Well, the way I teach, first of all, I start on my personal style is a Sunday night plan. And I put my plan together for the week with my whole process of how I do that and prioritizing that. And on Friday afternoon is when I close out my week. And I look at all of what I've done to celebrate those accomplishments, look at what I've learned, evaluate what I need to make note of for next week. And just that closeout alone kind of just gives that relaxation of knowing, look at what I produced this week.
Correct.
It's incredible.
And that's what I think that if you recognize the emotion and the feeling that you get, and you're aware of that after you do, then that will become an activity, which that's some of what you're talking about are actions and activities. And that's, wrapping your head around time management is like this big, which is why, like when Meredith said, what do you think when you hear that word? And I said, work, right? But then what's the benefit? So I think that's good and valuable.
Well, you bring up a great point, because most of the time, the reason we want that quick hit of the social media or the Netflix or the Doritos is because we want that quick little dopamine hit to make us feel better and escape what was not going to feel good in our mind. But when we can train our brain to get a dopamine hit from that feeling of relaxation and knowing, holy moly, look at what I did this week.
Right.
That is a dopamine hit that can carry you forever. I mean, that is a great one.
I think that propels people. So I'm glad that you talked about it. I mean, I laughed when I was in a conversation with somebody yesterday, and then Ange jumped in with me as that I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I just did to someone else. I took my boxes and colored them in, done, and opened up all these boxes on the call. And I said, thank you. I feel so much better. And she said, thank you. I feel overwhelmed. So it's a feeling.
Yeah. The art of making my to-do list your to-do list.
Yes. Mine are to-don'ts now. I don't have to do it.
I don't have to do it.
I to-don't. I love that.
Angela, what came up for you, or what questions did you have for Michelle? Or
well, what really kind of twigged for me was the analogy of a meeting, planning your day, having an agenda today, for your day, and thinking of a poorly planned meeting and how you feel, and then looking at your day the same way, right? So that kind of twig, I really appreciated that comment. So thank you.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've struggled with this, is online versus paper-based versus, your task. What sort of, from a tactical perspective, what do you use to plan? Like, what tools do you use to plan your day, or plan your week, plan your month?
Great question. I love that so much. And I'm surprised we went this long without somebody asking, because that's the most common question. And what I'm going to say to you is, the magic is not in the calendar that you choose to use. The magic is in you managing your mind in the moment, when you have it either written down or in a digital calendar, or whatever you choose to use. So keep that in mind. There is no magic calendar that I'm going to recommend to you that's going to change your time management ability in your mind. Now, me personally, it's evolved over many years. I've been doing this time management planning forever and ever and ever, because I love it. Makes me happy. But I've now evolved into, I use Outlook for my calendar, and I use it. I'm sure there's a lot of techie people who use it even better than I do, but I literally probably am almost a little OCD about it. I use it for everything I can. I put the reminders, I put drive time in there. I make sure that everything is covered. And I have a personal one and one that ties to my scheduling for my clients. And then they overlap in my phone, and I can always see for the day in a view what I have going on. So that's what I use. But one of the tips I'll give you with regard to calendaring is always make your task or your appointment what you plan to complete in that time. So if you need to do a draft of a business plan, then you're going to say, I'm giving myself 1 hour to complete the draft of the business plan. So it isn't just business plan. It isn't just work on, look at, review. Put down what you exactly plan to complete in that time. And that just changes your whole mindset going in, because you know how much time it's going to take you to do it, and you're going to be very focused on that.
It's not just spend an hour picking out a pretty template for the business plan.
Right.
And designing the first page of the plan. I have to.
The fun part, the fun bit.
Right. And that's where we get sucked in, into these quagmires, I
Yeah.
think is there with all of our brains, there's the fun part of the task and then the rest of the task.
Yes. Yes.
Well, there's the agreeing to it, I think, is one of the things that you're saying, Michelle. If it's like you have down business plan, if emotionally you're not agreeing with yourself that I'm ready to finish a business plan, then you probably also agree to just say, yeah, I'll move that forward and I'll just do something else. What you put in that time block, time, appointment, task, whatever it is, I think when you put it in with a personal agreement with yourself that it has value.
Love, love, love that. Yes. Make the decision and commit to that decision.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
changes everything. So good.
I look at some things that I write, like when I do, even I do a lot of the Friday, Sunday, like you do, right? I just have one more element because I have people working on weekends that I have Saturday and Sunday. But sometimes I realize that I just put something down that I'm like, really? Really, with what you need to do, you decided that you wanted to do that? Not exactly. So I was never really in agreement from the minute I put it in. So I took an hour out of my day by writing it in. And when it came up, I went, yeah, not so much. I'm not doing that. And now I'm more true to myself to go, don't write it, Carrie, if you don't believe in it. If you don't trust it, don't do it.
When you build trust with yourself, that's kind of what Meredith was talking about earlier, that you build trust with everyone else so much more because you know you're going to do what you need to do. You're going to manage yourself the way you want to manage yourself, and that you're choosing what you're going to do because it's aligned with where you're going.
Right.
I think in this remote work environment that we're in, where we're not necessarily in front of our boss, which, salespeople in model homes, they've been operating like that for a long time, but the rest of us, doing what you say you're going to do, doing it at the time you say you're going to do it, doing it by the deadline it's due. I think that's even more important for remote teams to feel like they can trust each other. I really do. Because you can't just go stand in the doorway of somebody's office, like tapping your foot, like, where's it at? Where's it at? You have to have the faith in them that they'll deliver in time. So you get your piece and can deliver your piece of that to the client.
So that is so awesome. And it falls right in what you're telling us all to do, and Michelle. And then I think, Meredith, to that exact point, is in dealing with trust, what you have to do is, I'm learning that you have to go and say, when can I expect that? Or when do you think that? Or what is the deadline to you? So that you didn't just put it on their to do and my to don't, because you have no idea. So then do you look at, when should I call them back? When should I do it? When should I expect it? When can I, so that deadlining the project, if you will, remotely is really important, because you can't go knock, knock, knock. Any chance I'll see that today?
Yeah. So true. And, that ties into a point Meredith made earlier about when your employer is asking for things to be done. I mean, why not just ask them? Okay, I have this with this deadline and this with this deadline. Please tell me which one is more important, which one do you need more quickly? That communication is so key. And when we're working virtually, that gets lost too so easily. And it's so critical. Otherwise, you're just creating stress for yourself unnecessarily, but you give the power back to this person to make that decision about what they want rather than trying to guess.
So we added a whole layer of virtual management.
Yeah. Well, the remote team, I mean, I've managed a remote team for almost 20 years. So I've been doing it a long time. And I can tell you the amount of anxiety it causes a business owner of a remote team when you can't completely trust that people are going to do what they say. It really will wear you down. And it's not good for the relationship. So for your own employment longevity, as well as your mental health and everything else, your team's really got to come through. Sorry, I'm so hoarse today. They've really got to come through for you.
And it's okay, right, to ask when. When will
Yeah.
you? It's,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we kind of go, oh, that's bold, or that's demanding. And I think, yeah, you have to ask when, because deadlines are what make you relax.
Yeah, no, a good leader is going to
Mhm.
define the timeline and the deadline. And if you aren't getting that from them, then you need to ask, when do you need this by?
Mhm.
Yeah, and if it's
Yeah.
coming from a place of confidence and empowerment and taking responsibility, then, you know, it's up to somebody else to take it boldly or feel offended if they want to. But if you're presenting yourself the way you want to present yourself, then you're gonna get the job done a lot more quickly. You're gonna be
So I'd like to hear from all of you listening in. Hop over into chat. And what's your best time management tip? What is something that you've used through the years that has served you well? Let's have a little community sharing and see what things pop up. While you all get into the chat and kind of get that flowing, I'll give you mine. I learned somewhere along the way, the week is planned out at the beginning for sure, with the time blocks and the scheduling and all of that through the calendar. But I also sit down each morning and usually on sticky note, or one of my favorite, my dad sent me, here, let me flip the page over so you don't see all the stuff written on it. My dad sent me one of these Levenger notepads that are long ways and can sit right in front of your keyboard. Because, you know, every other notepad is basically in the way of my mouse and my keyboard. So he sent me this. He goes, "This is the greatest notepad you'll ever use." I'm like, "Thanks, Dad." So anyway, what I do at the beginning of each day is I write down 3 things. Maybe there are 3 things that have popped up, a client's asked for, like something pressing that's on deadline. And what are those 3 things? And so I'm working those in between my Zoom meetings and whatever else, but I have a defined list of these are the to-dos. And it is that hit of dopamine when you either use a Sharpie or I prefer a thick black marker to put a line through number 1. It is like an amazing feeling. So that's something that I do on a daily basis, just to keep myself real focused on what's today that's hitting. So, all right, let's check over in chat. What have we got here?
We're getting some really good ones. Here's one. Toodle-doo.
Go ahead.
Toodle-doo. I know, I've never heard of that.
I haven't heard of Toodle-doo, so I'm gonna, I like Kevin talking about a score sometimes on it, and then even a success score, because I will tell you, as I look at that one, and we all know him well, is that one of the things is, and this is part of time management, I think also, Michelle, is how do you help the other person feel comfortable so they relax? As we talk about, take a deep breath, like when you've been tasked and you're in the middle of the task, or you're on it, or you got the email, do you, and Meredith, to go back to your notes, what do people do? Like, do you let the other person know, just got it, on it, working on it, because you want the other person, talk about that, I think.
Yeah, I think that I think it relates to building that trust over time. Maybe at the beginning, when you don't have a relationship with someone, it's worth that follow-up. But for the most part, my overall belief is, if I've built trust with you that I do what I say I'm going to do, and when you send me something, I do it, and I do it on time, and I start and finish, and that you're going to believe that I will continue to do that.
So that goes to salespeople, knowing that when they build trust, when they meet someone and they get the email of all the stuff, and they just keep emailing me the same questions, go back and don't try and change that person because they are who they are. Go back to you. Did I build trust that said, you gave it to me, I'm going to work on it?
Right, exactly. And then after that, that could be about them and their whatever they have going on. But my belief is, if I've built trust with you and I am accountable to myself and others, then I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And if I'm not, I'm going to let you know. Or if I can't, I'm going to let you know.
Yeah, good one.
Angela, did you see one in chat that you wanted to highlight?
Well, taking breaks. There's a couple of people, when you're working from home, it's, who was it? Was it Julie that just said, she getting to the point, and I'm guilty of this, of eating your lunch at your desk, of going to get, and not taking those breaks and giving yourself space. It's been really easy to schedule meetings back to back, when you have a calendar, but allow yourself a few minutes in between meetings, allow yourself to breathe. I think you start to, if you have back-to-back meetings all morning and into the afternoon, by 3 o'clock, you're done. I mean, you just don't, you don't have the energy. So you really need to give yourself a little bit of space. And I know that's easier said than done, because I'm a work in progress.
Right.
I think we all are.
We all are. But that's where my list of my 3 things kind of comes into play, because if I've built my day correctly, there are breaks to knock out those urgent things that are due or that have to be done today.
Yeah.
And so when I make my list of 3, that's the criteria for those 3 things. And there's calendar time for other things, but it's like, okay, if I schedule 6 Zooms today, I've left myself 0 bandwidth to knock out any kind of emergency that comes up, personally, professionally, whatever. So.
And that's a good point, Meredith, because every week, you something happens every week, right? Like every day. There is every day. I mean, there is something that is going to surprise you or catch you off guard to some degree, either every day or at least every week, whether it's something personally, whether it's something at work. And so you have to plan, you have to include that in your planning, that you give yourself a little bit of time and a break and some time to manage that.
And I from all of that and the planning of the time, I think that one of the things is, like, when you talk about eating lunch while you're doing this and doing that and all the wandering thoughts, I think one of the key things to truly time blocking, time management, is reducing your distractions so you can get it done in the right amount of time. Like, if you said I can do this in a half an hour, and you really could, but you can't if it's in between bites of your pizza, changing the load, doing all that, then it wasn't 30, it was 40. Mm-hmm. And then that's where your whole day gets away. So I just think I just have learned that if I reduce my distractions, I get everything, not everything, haha, liar, liar. I get more things, liar, liar. I get more things done in the allotted time frame if I agree to myself. That is distraction proof. If it's a distractional day, then I have to allow more time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of keeping you all on time, it's 1:01. So for those of you that have meetings that are getting ready to start and your lunch break is over, if you're on Eastern, we know you have to hop off. We get it. But we are going to have a little after the show here for a few more minutes where if you can stay on, you're welcome to. We want to give you a chance through chat to ask Michelle your burning questions. If you're looking for a tip or you have a struggle in a particular area, now is a great time to ask.
Love it. Yeah. Bring it on.
Ask
me anything. I was going to say,
ask away.
Yes,
right?
Ask away. I was going to say, I am not a fan of a multitasker, because I think that multitasking is a farce. We say that we're good at multitasking, but at the end of the day, we didn't give our attention to the quality and the detail and the presence that each task required. And both tasks together, if separated, would have gotten done a far more quickly, and even if not quickly, far more quality. So I think
Right.
that it's a really great point, Carrie, that you brought up.
I just really believe, now we do juggle, right? Everyone wants to disagree with me on this sometimes. I disagree with myself on it a lot of times. When I say, I have my best conversations with me, is that when I say multitasking is a myth, which I say it, that what I just need to understand is that I have stopped and started. I have switched. I'm not doing two things multi. I have stopped and started. And so the conversation I have with myself is, how much time does it take me to switch, and how much time does it take me to get back to the right focus? And that's where I say to me, go ahead, Carrie, do 4 things at once, but none of them are going to come to completion. Margin for error is higher. Just blah, 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 right down the list. Is that proves to me multitasking is a myth, because it's a start and a stop.
Absolutely. Starting and stopping your car each time is a whole lot less efficient than just getting on the highway.
Mm-hmm. It
Just
is.
go. Just go.
Yeah.
And with digital, they came out with this term of multi-minding, not even multitasking. The idea being that you could be streaming something on Netflix with that digital device. Then you could also have your phone open to Instagram and you're there. Meanwhile, you're putting in your to-do, you're ordering a list of groceries from Instacart. I've never done any of this.
No, not you at all.
And
we sat on a couch with you.
We literally multi-mind ourselves in all these different places at one time.
Yeah.
And it is a disaster. That's how you end up with 6 things of broccoli and
Right.
no chocolate. And you don't know what just happened on the Netflix show. Alan texted me in the middle of the Netflix show we were watching last night, this meme that said, hold on, let me find it. If my wife paid attention to the show, she would know what was going on, or something. And I was like, what? I'm watching.
Right. But then it got to be a really bad day if your grocery order ended up with all that broccoli and no
Oh, I
chocolate.
know. Especially not broccoli eater right here. Well, I don't see any questions. We've put Michelle's website, strivecoachingstudio.com, is in the chat. I will be also including it in the email with the recording, and I'll post it in the Facebook group too. So you'll definitely be able to get a hold of her and use her resources. She voluntarily gave her time today, so we would appreciate it very much if you.
Well, thank you, Meredith. I'm honored to be on your famous show. So exciting. Yeah.
Only in our own minds. Only in our own minds is it famous.
Well,
But
in mine too.
Yay! Well, we do have fun doing it. Carrie, Angela, I think you guys would agree. This is one of our favorite hours to spend our time every month.
Absolutely.
It is one of our favorites.
When you're willing to invest back into other people, and you this brings us full circle, Michelle, because you talked about when you were growing your home building company and investing in those people so that they could learn to develop their own skill sets. It is the most rewarding thing that you can do. And one of the things I've learned through COVID and not being able to travel and not going to in-person events, somebody pointed out to me, you're still having impact and influence every day. In your interactions with people. Don't feel like you've been sidelined, or, all of us are having influence and impact on others every single day. And we can particularly do that when we honor our commitments first to ourselves as to what our priorities are and how we're going to spend our time. And then as we build that out to others. And that is a powerful combination that I know is going to serve you very well in 2022.
100%. That was
Right?
great. Yeah, that was,
Okay.
I agree. Good one.
Good one.
Okay,
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We will see you on February 4th and have a great day. Go get them.
Hi, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.